3 weeks into shooting The Godfather, Paramount Pictures made a decision. Al Pacino was done. They'd fire him in the morning and call Robert Redford's agent by noon. The decision was final, already approved. And then Marlon Brando walked into a room he wasn't invited to. What he said in the next 90 seconds saved Pacino's career and changed cinema history. But nobody in that room thought he was serious. Not at first. Day 4 of production. Robert Evans sat in the screening room watching dailies. Al Pacino on screen, quiet, reserved, almost invisible. Evans leaned forward. "What the hell is this?" The editor said nothing. "He's doing nothing," Evans said. "Where's the star?" By week 2, Evans was calling Pacino the midget in meetings. By week 3, he wanted him gone. Francis Ford Coppola was in his office when the call came. "Evans wants you, now." Coppola grabbed his script, walked to Evans' office. Evans was pacing behind his desk, 2 executives seated, waiting. "Sit," Evans said. Coppola sat. "We're firing Pacino," Evans said. "Not a question, a statement." "You can't." "We already decided," Evans cut him off. "He has no presence, no energy. 3 weeks of footage and he disappears into the furniture." "That's the character," Coppola said. "Michael starts—" "I don't care about the character," Evans said. "I care about box office, and that kid can't carry a film." "He can," Coppola said. "Robert Redford can do it better," Evans said. "We're calling his agent tomorrow." Coppola stood, "Then find another director." Evans stopped pacing, turned, smiled. "Francis, you're already on thin ice. Budget's climbing, schedule's slipping. You want to quit? Fine. We'll replace you by Friday." Coppola's jaw tightened, but he didn't move toward the door, because Evans was right. He had no power here. "1 more week," Coppola said. Evans shook his head. Decisions made. Marlon Brando had been watching, not interfering, just watching. He'd seen Pacino work, seen what the kid was building, and he recognized it. Truth. When Brando heard they were firing Pacino, he made one call, to Coppola. "Where's the meeting?" Coppola told him. Brando hung up. Next morning, Evans' office, 9 a.m. The door was already closed when Coppola arrived, Evans pacing behind his massive desk, 2 studio executives in expensive suits, arms crossed, faces hard. This wasn't a meeting, this was an execution. "Sit down, Francis," Evans said, not looking at him. Coppola sat in the chair facing the desk. The executives flanked him on either side. Evans kept pacing. 3 weeks, 3 weeks of footage. You know what I see when I watch it?" Coppola didn't answer. "Nothing," Evans said. "I see a kid who looks lost, who has no presence, who disappears next to every other actor in the frame." "That's intentional," Coppola said. "Michael starts—" "I don't care about the character," Evans said. "I care about box office, and that kid can't carry a film." "He can," Coppola said. "Robert Redford can do it better," Evans said. "We're calling his agent tomorrow." "I don't care what Michael is," Evans cut him off. "I care about what the audience sees, and they're going to see a nobody trying to carry a $20 million film." One of the executives leaned forward. "We've already spoken to Redford's people. He's available. He's interested." "You can't replace Al," Coppola said. Evans stopped pacing, looked at him. "Watch me." "Give him more time," Coppola said. "We did," Evans said. 3 weeks, that's more than generous." "1 more week," Coppola said. "We're shooting the restaurant scene. That's when Michael transforms. That's when you'll see—" "We're not waiting," Evans said. "The decision is made. Pacino's out today. We'll reshoot his scenes with Redford starting next week." Coppola stood up. "Then you'll need a new director." Evans smiled, cold. "Francis, you're 20 feet underwater here. The budget's climbing, the schedule's falling apart. Half the crew thinks you don't know what you're doing." He paused. "You want to quit? Fine, we'll have someone else in your chair by Friday. Someone who knows how to make commercial films instead of art house experiments." Coppola's hands clenched, but he didn't move toward the door. Because Evans was right. He had no leverage, no power, no way to stop this. "Sit down," Evans said. Coppola sat. "Good," Evans said. "Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Pacino into your office this afternoon. You're going to thank him for his work, and you're going to tell him the studio is moving in a different direction." "I won't do that," Coppola said. "Then we'll do it," the first executive said. "Either way, he's gone by tonight." Evans walked to the window, looked out at the lot. "This is business, Francis. Sometimes you make hard choices. This is one of them." "This is a mistake," Coppola said quietly. "That's not your call anymore," Evans said. The door opened. Everyone turned. Marlon Brando walked in. Nobody had invited him. Nobody had told him about this meeting. But there he was. Evans' expression shifted. Confusion, then irritation. "Marlon, this is a private production meeting." Brando walked to the empty chair next to Coppola, sat down, crossed his legs, said nothing. Evans' jaw tightened. "Marlon, I appreciate everything you've brought to this film, but this discussion doesn't concern you." Brando looked at him, direct, unflinching. "It does now." Evans crossed his arms. "This is about Al Pacino's performance, which, respectfully, has nothing to do with your scenes." "You fire him, I go too," Brando said. The words dropped into the room like a grenade. Nobody moved. Evans blinked. "I'm sorry. What did you just say?" "You heard me," Brando said, his voice calm, even, final. The first executive leaned forward. "Marlon, let's be reasonable here. We've all seen the footage. The kid has no charisma, no screen presence. We're trying to save the film." Brando didn't look at him, kept his eyes locked on Evans. "You fire him, I lose me too." Evans took a step closer to his desk. "You can't be serious." "Try me," Brando said. "You're under contract," Evans said. "You signed it. You're legally obligated to complete this film." "Sue me," Brando said. The second executive stood up. "Marlon, do you understand what you're saying? If you walk, we lose everything. 4 weeks of principal photography, your scenes with Pacino, the entire Don Vito arc, $20 million gone." "I know," Brando said. "You'd be in breach of contract," the executive continued. "You'd be blacklisted. You'd never work in this town again. Is that really worth it for some kid you barely know?" Brando finally looked at him, said nothing, just looked. The executive shifted his weight, uncomfortable under Brando's gaze. Evans slammed his hand down on the desk. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. "This is my studio," Evans said, his voice rising. "You don't walk in here uninvited and make threats in my office." Brando stood, slowly. The chair scraped against the floor, the sound harsh in the sudden silence. He didn't raise his voice, didn't move toward Evans, didn't gesture or posture. He just stood there, 6 feet tall, completely still, eyes locked on Evans. "Then lose it your way," Brando said. He turned toward the door. "Wait," Evans said. Brando stopped, didn't turn around. The room was silent except for Evans' breathing, heavy, controlled. "You're bluffing," Evans said, trying to sound certain, failing. Brando turned, slowly, looked at Evans. "Am I?" he said. The question hung in the air. Evans stared back, searching Brando's face for something. Hesitation, fear, some crack in the facade. There was nothing. Just certainty. Cold, absolute, unmovable. Brando meant every word he'd said, and everyone in the room knew it. The first executive spoke up. "Bob, maybe we should—" "Shut up," Evans said, not looking away from Brando. Another silence. Longer this time. Evans' jaw worked, his hands gripping the edge of his desk. He was calculating. He could see it, the math running through Evans' head. Lose Pacino, and maybe the film suffers. Lose Brando, and the film dies. Simple math. 1 week, Evans said finally, his voice tight, cold. Pacino gets one more week. We shoot the restaurant scene. If it doesn't work, if he doesn't prove he can carry this film, he's out. And I don't care what you do." Brando nodded once. "He'll deliver." He better, because if he doesn't, this conversation never happened, and you're finishing this film whether you like it or not. Brando walked to the door, hand on the handle. He paused, looked back at Evans. "You should watch the dailies again," Brando said quietly. "Actually watch them, instead of looking for what you expected to see." Then he left. The door closed behind him. The room stayed silent. Coppola sat frozen in his chair. The executives didn't move. Evans stood behind his desk, his knuckles white from gripping the edge. "Get out," Evans said. "Quiet. Dangerous. All of you. Get out." They left. Evans stayed, alone in his office, breathing hard, furious, humiliated, but silent. Because Marlon Brando had just walked into his office, made a threat, and won. And there was nothing Robert Evans could do about it. Nothing except give Pacino one more week and pray to God the kid delivered. Because if he didn't, Evans would make sure Brando regretted this moment for the rest of his career. Coppola found Pacino in his trailer 20 minutes later. "They're keeping you," Coppola said. Pacino looked up. "For how long?" "1 week. Then we shoot the restaurant scene." Pacino nodded slowly. "Who stopped them?" "Brando," Coppola said. Pacino stared. "What did he say?" "5 words," Coppola said. "If he goes, I go." Pacino looked down, his hands shaking slightly. "Don't thank him," Coppola said. "Just prove him right." 5 days later, the restaurant scene. Michael Corleone, Solazzo, McCluskey, gun in the bathroom. Pacino had been quiet for weeks, building, and then the gun came out, and Michael Corleone became a killer. The transformation happened in seconds. When Coppola called cut, the set stayed silent. They just watched it happen. The film had changed. Evans watched the dailies that night, alone. He watched Pacino's face, the fear, the decision, the coldness. Evans sat back. God damn it. Brando was right. The next morning, Evans called Coppola. "Pacino stays." No explanation, no apology. He hung up. Brando heard about it from Coppola. Evans called. "Al's safe." Brando nodded, didn't look surprised. "You knew," Coppola said. "I knew," Brando said. "You risked everything." "I risked nothing," Brando said. "I was right." Al Pacino found Brando on set 3 days later. "I heard what you did." Brando looked up from his book. "Thank you," Pacino said. Brando closed the book. "Don't thank me. Prove I was right." Pacino nodded, started to leave, stopped. "Why?" Pacino asked. Brando was quiet for a moment. "Someone did it for me once, long time ago." "Who?" "Elia Kazan." Pacino nodded, understanding. "I won't waste it," Pacino said. "I know," Brando said. Pacino left. Brando went back to his book. The Godfather premiered 9 months later. Highest-grossing film of all time. Al Pacino nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Marlon Brando won Best Actor. Evans never spoke publicly about trying to fire Pacino, but everyone knew. Years later, someone asked Brando about that day. "Did you really threaten to quit if they fired Pacino?" "Yes," Brando said. "Why?" "Because they were wrong," Brando said. "What if they'd called your bluff?" Brando looked at the interviewer. "It wasn't a bluff," he said. "So you really would have walked?" "Yes." "Even if it destroyed the film?" Brando didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Why?" Brando was quiet for a long moment. "Because some things matter more than films," he said. On a Tuesday morning in 1972, in a production office at Paramount Pictures, Marlon Brando walked into a room he wasn't invited to. Robert Evans was ready to fire Al Pacino, replace him with Robert Redford, save the film, Evans thought. But Brando saw something else. He saw the truth, and he understood that losing Pacino meant losing the soul of the film. Not because Pacino was a star, but because he was Michael Corleone. So Brando made a choice that could have ended his career, could have destroyed the film, could have cost him everything. He looked Robert Evans in the eye and said 5 words. If he goes, I go. 5 words that changed everything. Not because they were clever, not because they were loud, but because Marlon Brando meant them. Completely, absolutely, without hesitation. Evans thought he was bluffing. The executives thought he was being dramatic. Even Coppola wasn't sure. But Brando wasn't performing. He was drawing a line. And everyone in that room had to decide if they believed him. They did. Because when Marlon Brando spoke, you listened. Not because of his fame, not because of his talent, but because he didn't waste words. And when he said something, he meant it. Evans backed down. Pacino stayed. The restaurant scene proved Brando right, and The Godfather became history. But Brando wasn't protecting Pacino, he was protecting the film. And if the studio couldn't see the difference, he was ready to let it burn. That's Marlon Brando.